If you're an OG Apex player, the name Taxi2G is one that you either love or hate. Taxi2G is a part of the small group of streamers on Apex Legends that have seen both sides of the coin when it comes to being loved and hated by the community of the game they stream. Most people that found success on Apex Legends had done it by either being wholesome and laid back in the streaming world, or of course being good at competitive play. Taxi2G, on the other hand, found success in the streaming world not by reinventing the wheel, but rather by finding a lane in the Apex community that most people have been avoiding. But to understand how he found himself taking that lane, you would first need to understand the type of person Taxi2G is and how he came into the streaming world to begin with. See, unlike most of the big names in the Apex community today, Taxi had been around in the Battle Royale world for a really long time. The guy is practically a veteran. He got his start in the Battle Royale world by playing H1Z1, and seeing as he was playing with big names in that community, such as a good friend of his, Trick2G, you could only imagine that Taxi2G himself was a big name in that community at that time. But unfortunately, Taxi doesn't have any content from that era, and judging from his Twitch tracker, he would eventually make the switch to League of Legends in December of 2016, and from this point on, League of Legends would become his main game that he would stream. And judging by who Taxi2G is today, you can only imagine that this is where he became the person that we know him as today. Now, I would sit here and dig deeper into Taxi2G's League of Legends era, but once again, the guy has absolutely no content from this era except for tweets. So instead, we would need to keep moving forward, since near the end of 2018, he would jump from games such as Fortnite back to League of Legends, and he would even start playing Overwatch. But it wasn't until 2019, when Apex Legends had its surprise release, when the true story of Taxi2G would begin. When Apex Legends released, it was like a goldmine for streamers. Everyone who was trying to break into the streaming world that wasn't already locked into whatever game they were playing at that time decided to make the full switch to Apex Legends. There were over 50 million players in the game during its first month, and from Taxi2G's perspective, since he already had extensive knowledge about how Battle Royales work, he figured that Apex Legends was a game that he could find success in. And to his surprise, it did not take long for Taxi2G to find success on Apex Legends. In fact, just like many other streamers on Apex, Taxi2G saw growth in his streaming career right off the bat. Month after month, his average viewers and followers were growing noticeably larger and larger, and this was due to the fact that he was noticeably skilled at the game. He had solid aim and understood how to go about winning matches consistently, and by May of 2019, he had grown to over 100 viewers per stream, an average that he would maintain from May of 2019 all the way to January of 2021. During this point in time, the Apex community had people who were considered to be the best player on the game and the most entertaining person to watch on Twitch. Taxi2G was none of them, and that's why he was stagnant for a really long time. Instead, he was building a name for himself in the niche PC community of Apex Legends, and without a doubt, Taxi2G was now a name that everyone knew if you were tapped into the community. He became a person known for their high skill, but not only that, he had that CSGO Russian player personality, a person who would scream and rage on their mic throughout matches, but was also really good at the game, and unsurprisingly, to many people in the community, that was really entertaining to watch. Those two key aspects of Taxi2G's content strategy worked hand in hand and allowed him to stand out in the saturated Apex community. But unfortunately, this was during an era of Apex Legends where everyone who was blowing up was either wholesome and laid back, or if you were an aggressive person, you were a competitive player. Taxi tried to become a competitive player early on in his Apex career, but clearly that didn't work out. Instead, he went all in on becoming a streamer slash content creator, and luckily for him, when a small subsection of the Apex community started to grow due to the lack of content on Apex Legends, the movement community, since Taxi was already known to have good movement, was a part of the few people that would benefit from the rise in interest in that lane. People such as Fade, Timmy, and Lyric were at the forefront of this new movement hype. Taxi would benefit from this later on, during the middle of 2021, where you could see that his viewership would finally start to rise. At this point, Taxi2G not only had movement clips that were blowing up, but there were also videos of his personality that were starting to go viral in the community, and it was clear that his humor, raw skill, and movement were working perfectly in creating picking a lane for Taxi2G to take, a lane which very few people were on. And as you can see, thanks to that, Taxi2G was finally hitting an average of over 1,000 viewers per stream, the first time in his career he had ever hit this milestone. But while Taxi2G's rise to stardom in the Apex community seemed like one with many pros compared to cons, the truth is, Taxi's contest strategy was one that didn't sit right with the mainstream community of Apex Legends. And seeing as everyone now had their eyes on him, it was now only a matter of time before Taxi would find himself in drama. Not everyone was a fan of his personality. If you were to ask r/Apex Legends or even r/competitive Apex Legends how they felt about Taxi2G, I promise you most of them will tell you that he was extremely toxic. What seemed funny to his audience was deemed as toxic to the mainstream Apex community, and this was not a good thing at all. Raging, screaming, laughing, and arguing on top of high skill was his content, but to the uninformed masses, Taxi seemed like a toxic crybaby that started drama all of the time. His personality alone left a bitter taste in the mouth of a good chunk of the Apex Legends community, and while his streaming career was now at an all-time high, it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows, because the events that would happen in the following months would solidify Taxi's position in the community as the most toxic and hated streamer on all of Apex Legends. See, back in October of 2021, Apex was banning people for doing dumb shit, such as using profanity in their names, and when Taxi would find himself getting banned for using the name Dumb F, when he would go onto Twitter and start drama with the devs because of this ban, this time it was completely justified. But the habit of going to Twitter to start drama would destroy Taxi in the near future, because not too long after that ban, in January of 2022, when Taxi would use an exploit live on stream multiple times and would end up getting banned for using it, this time when he would start drama on Twitter and Twitch, absolutely no one would be on his side. In fact, it was clear that the entire community knew that he was in the wrong, but Taxi2G being the guy he is, he couldn't give zero fucks. He would decide that using Smurf accounts to wait out his main account's ban was the right decision to make, and when he would get banned multiple times for ban evasion, Taxi still felt that he was not in the wrong, which only tarnished his reputation even more, at a point where many people in the community were convinced that he was either a dumbass or was doing this on purpose. And not too long after that, when Taxi would get banned from competing in the ALGS, this was the final stamp on Taxi2G's name, which solidified his position in the community as Apex Legends' most toxic streamer. But it was not like this was the end of Taxi2G, because in the grand scheme of things, all publicity is still publicity, and since at the root of Taxi2G's content, he was extremely skilled and really entertaining to many people who watched him daily, he was still consistently hitting new milestones in his streaming career. And since Taxi2G was never fully banned on Apex, and being banned on ALGS didn't really mean much, since streaming was his main hustle, and while today there is a decrease in his viewership, the truth is everyone is seeing a decline because Apex Legends itself is falling off. In reality, while Taxi2G might be hated by many people, he is still loved by many of his loyal fans. And if I were to guess, Taxi2G's future in the streaming world is most definitely bright, since he proved time and time again that cancellations and hate mobs were nothing more than an obstacle in his journey on becoming whatever the hell he feels like becoming.